Yo, we locked in. It's due season. It's your boy Carl Anthony. Hit the like button and subscribe right now. Leave a comment. All right. Let's just hop right into this video. Um, Emotions. Everybody has them. But as a man, especially if you're trying to be an alpha man, if you're on a journey to become alpha, you cannot lead with emotion. Um, and, you know, I was thinking about something like, I heard somebody say, like, half of the reason why men in prison, how they get there is through emotion. Um, if you murder somebody, emotion caused that, right? Um, any kind of, you know, somebody gets on your nerves about something, you want to lash out. See, we look at emotions as being soft, right? As far as like, crying and things like that. But there's all types of emotions: anger, hatred, you know, envy. When you lead with those types of emotions, they do breed a certain type of results that you may not be ready for. You may not be ready for those type of consequences. You think it's alpha because you can beat somebody's ass for talking to you a certain kind of way. No. It's more alpha to control yourself. Keep yourself in check, okay? Because is it really worth you going to jail over if you end up killing somebody for disrespecting you, right? You got to read the situations a certain way. And on top of that, soy products. A lot of stuff in prison food, most prison food is heavily drenched in soy. I mean, of course, they don't have soy. They're not putting soy on the food. What I'm saying is that food is made with soy. And why? You think that's just by design? I mean, you think that's just coincidence? It's by design. The type of food you eat can bring out certain emotions. Now, you think about this. Men in prison are cooped up, stacked up on top of each other, roommating with people they don't know, different races, uh, different age groups, different gangs. But then you put in the food, soy. And what does soy have? High estrogen, right? And what do women do? They emote the most. And what do they have? Estrogen. So when those men every day are consuming products with heavy amounts of soy, they are filling their bodies up with heavy amounts of estrogen, which can enrage you, okay? It don't just make you sissified. It can also enrage you, right? Cause you to want to kill somebody over an argument, over a disagreement, you know? On top of effeminizing you, and making you more prone to swaying the other way. A lot of rape in jail, you know? It's a lot of different things in jail that emotions are the cause of. Now let's shift out of prison in the outside world. Let's say you're in a relationship with a woman and she disrespects you. She calls you out your name. How do you handle that? Do you smack her? Do you push her? Do you punch her? No. You walk away. All right? You walk away. Because even if you get into a shouting match, right? What if your neighbors hear you and they hear some loud, strong man yelling at his woman? They're going to assume that you are being the aggressor. They're going to assume that you are the cause of all of these issues. They're going to assume that you're going to become violent. They're going to call the police. You're going to go to jail. Even if it was the other person, the woman, that was wreaking the most havoc. You got to be able to control yourself. You have to be able to be in control of your emotions, in control of them. It's not saying don't have emotion, okay? But when you feel anger, and let's say, you can see, when you practice semen retention, let me get to that. When you practice semen retention, it opens up your brain to seeing things before they come. So if you're in a relationship with a woman and you can see that she's about to test you and test your will and your power, because women do that. Women do manipulate things and they try to push your buttons, okay? But if you can see that it's going to cause you to lash out verbally or even physically, you should be able to notice that ahead of time. But if you're in a fog yourself, if your brain is in a fog itself, you will not be able to handle that, more than likely, and you will lash out, calling her out of her name and, basically acting like her. See, a woman wins, even though you may be the aggressor in the situation. You may be the one that's, oh, you went off. No, you lost. Because if a woman can get you off your square, if a woman can get you off your path by utilizing your emotions, by triggering you to react, she won. And so it's so many times, man, dealing with, even with my wife, like dealing with the way I used to handle arguments the most when we first started, being together. I would, I'm a mild-mannered person. And so she's not a mild-mannered person. We would get into an argument. And I'm speaking to her civilly. I'm not cursing. I'm not yelling. But I'm sharing my opinion. I'm voicing my opinion. I'm giving her a piece of my mind in a certain way. And I use a certain, maybe a snarl tone. But she gets to getting a little flip at the mouth, using a curse word or two. Never calling me out my name or nothing like that. I don't tolerate that in the least bit. But the minute she would do that, what I would do is I said, hey, you know what? Let me stop you right there. I said, if you can't talk to me with the same tone and level of respect that I talk to you in, we don't need to speak. So I'm going to leave this conversation, right? And when you're ready to talk to me civilly, we can have that conversation again. It would eat her alive. And I've been like this a lot in most of the relationships I've had with women. Like, I've been very calm. And plus, once I notice myself going too far, once I notice it, because sometimes I forget, it's natural. You just want to react. Once I forget, wait, hold up. She's getting me off my square. Hold up. I got to scale it back before I do something that I may regret. And I don't mean physically. I'm just saying things that you don't want to, that you may not want to say or whatever the case may be. Or just showing too much emotion. I'm not going to allow anybody to raise my blood pressure to that point. And that's how I would get the best results. Now, over time, sometimes I got to the point where, I got to the point where, man, me and my wife was going through a period where I would just, act like her, really. And always combative and, always showing emotion about things we would get into it about. And I was realizing, man, I was losing my position. I was becoming beta. It was, seriously, I was really becoming beta. And I realized I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm losing my position. I realized it and caught myself and said, let me get back to how I used to be, when I would be still, hold myself, control myself, right? Because once I started giving her the reaction that she wanted me to give her, then she became more combative consistently, I said, I gotta erase that. I gotta erase that. So I began getting back to how I normally am, right? Getting back to how I normally am, and things have been better. Less arguments, because I will not argue. If I have a point, I will state my point. The minute she wants to argue, you're not going to get it from me. You're not going to get a reaction out of me. I said what I had to say. It is what it is. You have to move like that. You got to move without showing your emotions on your sleeve, because women will use it against you. And also, men will use it against you. If men sense a sign of weakness out here in the wilderness, right? And, they will prey upon that weakness. That's why people, if you grew up in the hood and you was the type of kid that was, a little scared, right? Scared of the gangs, walking around the gangs. And, I went through that. And I'm going to tell you why I went through that. I got jumped when I was 10 years old by some guys that was in high school. 5 or 6 guys. And they were in the gang. And so from 10 to about, I want to say almost to about 17, 18, I was operating in fear in Chicago. If you know anything about Chicago, we got a heavy gang culture, murder, violence, all of that, right? You heard the stories about Chicago from a distance, but it's the truth. Now, I was more scared when I was younger, right? I was, when it first happened, I was like, ooh, I don't want to go outside. I don't want to go outside no more. They know where I live, whatever. They stole my bike, and I didn't have no older brothers or nothing at the time. I didn't have any older brothers, so I had nobody to back me up, right? I was with one of my friends who was a few years older than me. He didn't say nothing. He was scared, right? But it taught me something, because I started recognizing that I was living in fear a little too much. In high school, I got to high school, I started lifting weights. I started working on myself a little better. I started getting more confident. Started realizing, like, wait a minute, what am I afraid of? And I started walking a little different. So my fear became less and less over the years. Now, I didn't really get into my full, confidence level, right? Until I got to early adulthood, right? And it's a different walk and vibe that you have when you walk in the neighborhood that's troublesome, right? It's a different vibe you have when you're walking with confidence. If they sense a kid that's scary, they can sense it, and they will pick on you because of that. If they can tell that you're living in fear, they're going to expose the fear. You got to find some confidence, but you got to have a means to find the confidence too. So that's why you do stuff like working out. You build your strength up. You may want to take up boxing. You may want to take up, some kind of form of martial arts. You may just want to just be on point as a man. So your emotions play a role in how you move. Your emotions play a role in the response that you will get from others. Okay? Control your emotions. Use semen retention to gain the focus to control your emotions. If you're suffering from beta male syndrome, of being real emotional about the women in your life, and worrying about them cheating on you, worrying about them, leaving you, wanting to please them too much. If you're in that frame of thinking, you got to get out of it. You got to. But you got to build something up. That means that's why you stay on your path. That's why you retain. That's why you get to reading, get some knowledge about yourself, work on your body, become the best person that you can be, the best male that you can be. That's how you do it. So I'm going to leave y'all with that. Don't wear your emotions on your sleeves, fellas. Channel that energy the right way. Don't forget to like my video. Peace.